So to follow up with writing a proper proposal and making sure that the fee is correct, what's the best way to ensure that everyone on the project team understands the expectations of the client?
I mean, that's a really important question. Of course, if I gave you the stock response of everybody that does PM training, they'd say, well, of course, you hold a project kickoff meeting for every job you do.
Right.
When you know that the average fee of work done by firms is probably like $10,000, and many are working on a million jobs less than that, you can't have a project kickoff meeting on every job you do. It's totally impractical.
Yeah.
So therefore, the system breaks down. If I'm going to communicate that at the project meeting, and then I don't have a project meeting, then no one knows anything. And that's the way it is in most companies. They don't tell their people working on jobs anything. It's surprising to me how many do not even have any sense of what the budget is at all.
Yeah.
If you look at the average project team member, there are firms where the project manager themselves doesn't know what the budget is, which is completely bizarre to me.
Yeah. And a lot of that
But
has to do with, and I didn't mean to cut you off, but I
no,
know
that's
a lot
okay.
of that has to do with the simple fact that some firms basically have closed book management, so they
Yeah,
don't
they do.
they don't have open books, so nobody
They're
knows
they're
exactly.
afraid. Well, it's
They're
like, yeah, if I tell Bob that the fee is 20,000, then he's going to burn up all that 20,000. But if I don't say that, maybe he'll think it's only 10,000, and we'll make $10,000 extra.
Yeah.
That's that logic of a lot of people
Yeah.
who own companies. Or maybe it's we don't want them to have any information, access to that information, because then they can see what people's cost rates are.
Yeah.
But anyway, so the fee is one issue. But back to your question about, how do you communicate what the client really wants? Tell people. I don't understand, why can't you just send an email out to the project team and go, hey, the one thing that the client really wants to make sure of here is that we're done by next Wednesday.
Yeah.
That's the single most thing they care about. So if you're trying to be a perfectionist here, this isn't the time and place for it. Now this is the time and place to make sure we're done by Wednesday.
Right. Because that's what the client wants.
That's what the client wants.
Yeah.
I think people don't communicate these things.
Yeah.
They just don't share it. The managers are sitting in their offices in the perimeter of the building with the doors shut. The workers are out in the middle of the room, or they're in other departments or areas of the company. No one communicates what the client's expectations are, what the scope is, what the fee is. So what does everybody do? What they've always done.
Right.
They just do the same thing. It's like, well, we always did this. Okay, but we're not getting paid to do that here. Why are we doing this? You see what I mean?
Oh, I totally
It
understand.
becomes automatic. I've worked in this field for 10 years, and all my clients tend to want that. Okay, but that doesn't mean that's what this client wants.
Yeah. Yeah. I think.
Got to
I think.
share it.
Well, yeah, and I think you said it. You nailed it right on the head. Each client should be treated uniquely. I think the idea that every client is the same, that's a mistake. If you fall into that trap and treat every client the same way, you're going to get the same results every time.
Well, if you don't share any information with people, what do you expect them to do?
Yeah.
I mean, you have to tell them what the expectations are.
Yeah.
I mean, I see this over and over again in AE firms where the PMs and the principals are out figuring out, or the business development people are figuring out what the client really wants. And then when it comes time to actually write the proposal, no one communicates that back to the people who are writing the proposal. There's no intelligence at all in the market, even though they've got all this intelligence. They just
Right.
don't even share it with them.
Right.
So
Right.
then they do the standard thing that they always do, and then they wonder why they don't get the job.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous. You see this repeatedly.
So I mean, for the audience, for those of you that are taking this course, I mean, the idea here is simply, if you work in a place where everything is on a need to know basis, you need to figure out a different option, because that's just not going to work. And so, as a follow up to that, when you're talking about understanding and managing the client's expectations, and just taking the extra time to share everything that you know about the client and the project, which is critically important. So with that understanding, and that all that says to me is that you're relying on other people to ensure that you get this project done properly.